Buddy, so what a mess this has been. I don't know if anybody can see me. If anybody can see me, say something in the chat. There's nobody. Delay ads during an important comment. You can. Yeah. Close. Welcome to live chat. Remember to guard your privacy and abide by our community guidelines. I don't want to learn more. Go away. Woohoo, just arrived. Can you guys hear me? Somebody type yes if you can hear me. You can see me. But you can't hear me? Hi, Myra. Okay, folks, so I had Z with me, and I was trying for like an hour to try and make all this work. The software that I was using for all of this, I prepared last night. I was like, hey, what do I need to do to be ready? So all I got to do is start things up and we're live. And nothing that I set up worked. Everything was foobar. So here I am. So now I'm just going to do a live here on YouTube and talk to you guys, answer any questions you have. And let's see, that big ugly bill passed. And I agree 100% with Austin on TikTok. I don't know if he has a YouTube channel or not, but I think it's very important that we start calling it Trump's tax. Trump's tax passed today in the House. And tomorrow at 5 p.m. Washington time, Trump is going to sign the Trump tax bill. Hi, you. Okay, let's see. Who do I got? I've got Yuwu, Jatibitz, Sherry, Barbara, Breaks, Myra, Ajay, Okie. Okay. How is the health care in my rural area? Uh, we have a little hospital. My wife worked at that hospital for a lot of years, but it's very poorly managed. She was treated like crap, so she's like, hey, I'm going to go be a traveler. She's an MRI tech. And she's been doing that for a couple of years now. I don't think that our hospital is going to survive when the Medicaid cuts start hitting because we seriously depend on Medicaid and Medicare. As far as it's the pricing insurance, the same plan that I have down here in my tiny little rural area, the exact same plan costs me hundreds of dollars more a month than it does in Denver. Because Colorado has this, we used to have where one insurance company could cover the whole state for state employees. I'm not a state employee anymore. But the Republican governor of the time, Governor Dipshit, he's not worthy of his name being mentioned anyway. He got a new law through called Insurance Choice to give us options. And the minute he did that, health insurance in Colorado became unaffordable again. So that's how the healthcare is in my rural area. We struggle to get doctors. About the time you do get a doctor, they die, retire, or move away. And then it takes 6 months to a year before you can get in for another initial appointment with a primary care. Let's see. I see we got Okie's from California. Yuwu is Arkansas. Where else is everybody from? Hi, Jadane. Everybody have big plans for tomorrow for the 4th of July? I have none. Getting two of my grandkids tomorrow, and they're going to be here for a week. But You know, the 4th of July used to be my favorite holiday, 4th of July and Thanksgiving, because 4th of July was all about celebrating our country, America, the great country. And Thanksgiving was all about saying thank you for having this great country. And then what happened? Our country's become what it has, so I get no joy out of those holidays anymore. Rural Northern California, my rep is Republican. I'm sorry. You know, I used to look for Republicans that I could vote for. I even thought I had one once. This was 1997, 98. Scott McGinnis was my congressman. He was a state legislator, got elected to Congress, and he was a Republican. And in his first year, he was outstanding. I wrote him a letter, sent him some information, and he called me. And the first time he called, I was in the shower. And I was like, tell him I'll call back or whatever. I didn't know who it was. And then he called again, and I was in the shower again, but now I knew who it was, so I jumped out of the shower. And we had a good conversation. We didn't agree on a lot of stuff, but I had a representative, a congressional representative, who would talk to me and hear me out, and we could talk about what we agreed with and disagreed with. And then by the end of his first term, he had become a partisan hack, repeating all of Newt Gingrich's bullshit about Clinton, and it was disgusting. And it makes me remember when I was in college, I took a couple of political science classes, and my political science professor, his name was Robert Wright. Apparently, there was a famous Robert Wright, but it wasn't that one. He worked in the first Bush White House, and I asked him one day. I said, "Sir, are there any members of Congress in the House or in the Senate? Are there any members of Congress who are there for the purpose of representing people like our founders intended?" And he looked at me and he said, "Vic," he says, "almost, not all of them, but almost everybody who gets elected to go to Washington goes to Washington with that lofty goal in mind of being the representative of the people, the voice of the people." And he said, "But within 2 to 4 years, almost, not all, but almost all of them end up flipping and becoming partisan hacks, servants of the lobbyists and all that stuff." That's pretty depressing. That's why when I ran for Congress, I was determined to not be one of those that turned to the dark side within 2 to 4 years. How far do you have to travel to get to Denver, taking vets and their families? To get to Denver, it's 3 hours from here. As a matter of fact, I'll be making that drive a week from tomorrow as soon as I get off work so I can jump on a plane to go to California, or excuse me, go to Tampa Bay for the, pardon my French, the Unfuck America tour. We're going to go down there. Charlie Kirk has his Turning Point USA, I call it a convention, I don't know what else to call it, where he's going to be doing all of his demagoguery and converting young kids into the cult. But we're going to be there at his convention, inside the convention during the day, and we're going to be um, holding our own live videos in there and taking on the MAGA people in that venue. And then in the afternoon, I wonder if I do that, I won't be able to see you guys. Um, that's what we're going to do in the afternoon. Then in the evening, we're going to a bar. If you go to my bio page and you look at my link tree, there's links to donate, but you can also just get to the tour and see what the itinerary is. There's one that says get tickets, and it shows you all the stuff that we're going to be doing. But yeah, we're going to go and take on MAGA. That's a joke, right, J. Dane? I wish I could talk about where I work because it very much relates to what Jay Dame is saying, but I don't want to jeopardize my job. I'm a security guard somewhere related to that comment. Anyway, back to the tour. So yeah, that's what we're doing on the tour. Somebody needs to be a voice to countermand what Charlie Kirk and the billionaires are doing with trying to recruit all of our young people. And that's our mission, is to be that other side of the coin for young people to get actual, truthful information so that they at least have the option of making informed decisions and seeing who we are without having to take Charlie Kirk at his word. I don't know. I would rather be 2 hours closer to Denver because uh, let's just say it's this where I live is like living in the behind times by about 100 years. Al Capone used to escape to our community when the heat was getting on him or some of his people, then they would come here to Trinidad. And this was a mafia town. As a matter of fact, Al Capone's mother lived up the road. And there's tunnels underneath the town. There, how they used to go from one building to the next to either evade law enforcement or carry their whiskey, because remember, this was during Prohibition, gambling halls and all that stuff. But it feels like my little town of Trinidad has never left that Capone mentality because there's a lot of people here who just want it to be like that. Did Ken Buck really say that? Wanted to spend the rest of his life finding better candidates? Hell no, he hasn't done anything like that. He has no interest in doing that. Ken Buck is one of the most selfish people I've ever met. I mean, and one of the phoniest. When I was campaigning against him, he was always railing, put his hand on the Bible every stop he was at. Every time we were together, he was clutching that Bible like it was his savior. That was a bad pun, wasn't it? Anyway, point is, he was using it to justify every position that he had on every issue. And then the first thing he does, he goes to Washington, starts screwing around with his intern, and ends up getting divorced because of it. That's who Ken Buck is. My e-bike, I rode my e-bike 37 miles, uh, 3 or 4 weeks ago. I wanted to take it on a test drive to see how long it would go, and it went 37 miles from here to my friend Ty's house and all the way back. Uh, when I left, I was letting the motor do all the work. I was barely pedaling. And then I got 8 miles and I was down to 3 bars on the battery, 3 out of 5. And I was like, oh, this isn't good. So then I started doing a lot more of the work. And I went the remaining 29 miles on 3 bars and doing a lot of the work myself. Not a terrible lot. I wasn't sore the next day, but I could tell I was getting a workout. And I made it all the way back. And when I parked, the 1 bar was blinking. Who else is in the tour? I just asked Z about that when we were talking, trying to get this thing to work. I hope I can do this without screwing up the camera. I'm going to pull up the list of that. So if you go to unfuckamericatour.com, one of your options, menu options, is creators. And we've got Destiny at the top. And then there's Amy Zellmer. Now, I don't have the list of exactly who's going because you'll see CFH Unfiltered in this list, but he has a wedding, so he couldn't go to this one. I believe Anna Pledger is going. Camp Call Out Mercedes is going. There's CFH. Corey Magyar, C-Mags, he's going. I believe Ethan Alexander's going, but don't quote me on that. Yeah, Z told me there's like 18. Kyle, a little off grid, just a little off grid. He's going. I can't wait to meet him. Logix, that black veteran. Oh, Robbie Roadsteamer, if you guys are familiar with him. He's a guy who dresses up like the that idiot during the January 6th attack on our Capitol, the one that wore the horns and the fur and all that stuff. This guy dresses up like him, and he goes to MAGA events, and he makes total fools out of the people. You know, talking to he sings songs and stuff, roasting Trump and MAGA, and he'll talk to them and get them into conversations and get them to see how stupid they're being. Z's going, of course. Yeah, I don't have the whole list, but I know the ones that I mentioned are going, I think. Hi, Monica. Yes, I did. So my mic that I use for most of my videos has a receiver that plugs into my phone. It was a Neewer mic, and I was riding down the road, and at some point the receiver fell out of my phone, and I didn't notice it. And that really messed up my plan for that video. But I wrote to Neewer and said, hey, I don't see a place on your website where I can buy a replacement. This is what happened. Is it possible to buy a replacement? They said, send us $10 for shipping and we'll send you the new mic with adapter. And they did. It was here within days, and that was awesome. I missed your first comment there, Sorrel. Used to celebrate the 4th. Wyoming. You know, the wind blows like I'm in Wyoming. Down here, it didn't always used to blow this much, but here anymore, you'll see me doing fewer and fewer voices or videos out there because it's always blowing these days. Stay safe. Of course I'll stay safe. I don't worry too much about the safety part. I mean, I don't do things that are unsafe, but I know that I have a lot of people who ask me about that. And I've had a gentleman who sent me some stuff, some tips on survival and stuff like that. And I don't worry about the crazies. I mean, we've got in my tiny little county of 10,000 people, with 8,000 of them living right in town, we had 3 or 4 people who were convicted in the January 6th attack. And just over the hill in New Mexico, there was another one that was a county commissioner. So we definitely got the crazies around here, but I don't worry about them. It's like, at the end of the day, they're cowards. They're gravy seals. They're not anything to worry about. James, you were E5 in the Army. So was I. I was at Fort Campbell. I was a Chinook flight engineer. Where were you, James? What else have I missed? You know, I've been wanting to do a YouTube live for a long time. It's weird though, because I'm sitting here, I can see myself on the screen, and I can see your comments, but they're not coming in real time. It sounds like my son's driving up on his motorcycle. An MP. I could tell you a story about MPs. You weren't stationed in Washington, were you, James? Can we see the puppies or kittens? Ah, if my oh, you can't see that, can you? My picture on my laptop is way behind. I don't know what you can see and what you can't. Yeah, I'm like 30 seconds behind. So there's a kitten. Hi, Brett. How's Missouri? Yeah, that cat didn't look too thrilled to be there. Germany and San Francisco, I take it. I got to go to Germany. I was recalled for the first Gulf War. It's funny because I was out processing in August of 90, August of 1990. And my XO come to me and she says, Vic, we're going to deploy to Kuwait. I got to ask if you want to sign up to go with us. And a part of me really wanted to, but I said, well, ma'am, is anything going to happen? She said, no, we're going to get to Kuwait and Hussein's going to tuck tail and run back to Iraq. I said, well, then I'm going to go to college like I planned on. So I went to college and I got my start. And on the very first day of my second semester, came home and I had a letter in the mail. Go to war or go to jail. So I got recalled. And for those of you who don't know, that was a marching cadence. Got a letter in the mail. Go to war, go to jail. Anyway, um, so yeah, I got recalled and I got sent to Germany. I spent 2 or 3 months in Germany bowling. The bowling alley was right outside the makeshift barracks. Had a good time. Got to tour around Mannheim a little bit. Hi, Gina in New York. Up late. It's only 10 o'clock there. I thought you New Yorkers didn't go to bed till midnight. Holy cow, I can't say that name. Guy from Putlerland here. I'm sorry. Okay, you're going to have to help me out here. Guy from Putlerland here again. So you're from Russia? You chaps have been awfully reminding us of schmucks lately. I hope you're saying that in a broader sense, as in America, because we elected that idiot and we're letting him get away with so much crap. Oh, you're more than welcome, Donna. It feels weird for people to say thanks for what I do because what I do is it's the least I can do. Um, I feel a great amount of guilt because when I look at my grandkids and I look at the world we're leaving them, and I've been trying all my life. I ran for the state legislature a year out of college, I think. Another case of running in a super red district that I had no chance of winning, and the state party not wanting to help. But I've always been trying to be effective in politics for the purpose of doing my part to make it better. But I still feel guilty because I feel my generation is the one most responsible, second to the boomers. We are most responsible for things being in the state they are because we didn't vote enough. We weren't critical enough. We didn't hold our politicians accountable enough. And because we didn't and we weren't and all that, that's how we ended up where we are today. Are you talking about going to Kuwait there, James? Hi, PM from Michigan, EC from Northern Virginia, Diana White, California sends love and many hugs. You know, I lived in California when I was a wee lad, just for a little bit, up in Tulare, California. Is it Tulare or Tulare? I don't know. I was little. I don't remember. I got some cousins and stuff out there. Thanks, Brett. And I love Canada. Oh, that reminds me. I think tomorrow's going to end up being a 3 video day because I told somebody I would do a video about the Elbows Up protest, and I haven't had time. So let me tell you guys about it now. July 5th, if you're living along or close to the Canadian border, there's an organized protest called Elbows Up to show both unity between the Canadians and the Americans, and at the same time to protest the great orange idiot in the White House and the things that he said and the abuse that he's leveled on Canada. So if you're up there on the border, do it. Or if there's a consulate in your city, there's a Canadian consulate in Denver, I'm told. And if it wasn't 3 hours away, maybe I would drop by. So that's the Elbows Up protest. If you have a mind to, if you're in the area, go and check that out. Put some numbers to the people there. Do you think YouTube makes the information intake better or worse? I would so rather that we had the old days of Cronkite, McNeil Lair, Tom Brokaw, and those guys, because that was news that we really could trust. If I watched nightly news with Tom Brokaw, I knew that he was telling me the truth. But these days, none of our media, most of the times not even local media, because it's all owned by giant groups that own stations all across the country. I can't trust the media. And I do get better information from YouTube and TikTok. The catch is I have to be smart enough and vigilant enough to check what I'm learning about. So I can be watching a video and it tells me that Trump said XYZ or did PDQ, and I have to go and check that out for myself and find out if it's true, because there have been a couple of times where I've passed on bad information and had to make up or make amends through a video and such. Let's see, it's 8 o'clock here. That means it's 3 o'clock in the morning in Scotland, so there's nobody in the UK watching us. Oh, cool. Thanks for telling me that, Yu-Woo. I gotta tell you, Yu-Woo, that's a hard one to keep saying correctly. Hi, Gail in Alabama. I hope I answered your question, James. Another Southwest Missouri. Virginia, hi. I do my best and you're welcome. More and more protests. We need to start organizing though. You know, I'm working on a video that you just brought to mind, Brett. Because if you've watched a lot of my videos, what have I said time and again? Join your local Democratic Party. Because we have to change the party from the ground up. And the Democratic Party is the only vehicle out there capable, under the right circumstances, capable of taking down Trump and the Republican Party, retaking Congress and all that. I've been really struggling lately. I mean, yeah, I got involved. I joined my local Democratic Party. I'm the vice chair, but I'm struggling because the establishment Democrats are not hearing us. The ones at the top, the Ken Martins, the Schumers, the Hakeem Jeffries, and yeah, he gave an 8-hour speech on the floor. Good. That was literally the least he could do. But when somebody like Zoran Mamdani gets elected in New York, what are they doing? They're attacking. I think it was Gillibrand from New York, blonde gal, representative or senator. Anyway, I saw her in an interview, and she was just unleashing on Mamdani, accusing him of all kinds of crap. And she was blaming him or criticizing him because he wants to tax the rich and saying how out of touch he is and how unrealistic. And it's not the mayor of New York who can do that, it's the state that has to do it. And just all kinds of, pardon my French, bullshit, or pardon my language, bullshit. And she turns around later in the same day criticizing the Republicans for wanting to give the huge tax breaks. They want it both ways. These people at the top of the party want it both ways. And as long as that's the case, and as long as they continue to refuse to recognize that Mamdani didn't win because he's a Muslim, he didn't win because of his name or his religion. He won in spite of it. He won because the issues that he ran on are progressive. The issues that he ran on actually speak to the working class. He is going out there door to door and actually meeting voters and listening to what they have to say and proposing realistic solutions that are credible. And he won big time. And the establishment Democrats see that and they're like, holy crap, we've got to shut this guy down. We can't let him gain traction. And they play into the Republicans. The Republicans are like, oh, this is great that this guy won. We're going to use him to paint the whole Democratic Party like that. And the Democratic establishment is scared of that. Instead of saying, you're damn right, that's who we are. And with that being the case, I've really been struggling with whether or not I should still be telling people join the party, because I know a lot of people are saying what I am. All across the country, they're saying the same thing, begging the Democrats to stand up and work for Main Street instead of Wall Street. And so far, I haven't seen any indication that they're going to. So am I wasting my time? I don't know. I'm going to be pondering on that for probably several weeks. I missed some comments. Oh, no, I didn't. I like that, Brett. We can't wait for the politicians to save us is exactly right. It's time that we stopped waiting for them to lead us out of the wilderness, if you will, and start jumping on their backs and riding them out of the wilderness. That was a really bad horse metaphor. See, that's another thing about doing live that I feel kind of weird about is these silent stretches where I'm trying to read the comments, because I don't want to ignore the comments, but I don't want to just be here all silent and static. Mayhem funding. I like that terminology, Oki. Mayhem funding to domestic militarized federal police. That is a great way to describe it. Democrats need FDR Dems. That's what I'm saying. You know, when I was campaigning for Congress 10, 12 years ago, that's what I was saying. is we need FDR Democrats. Can you tell a quick piece of advice, Vic, on should things go thoughts and prayers with your MAGA loons on the run? Might get thoughts and prayers back. We'll go full Jonestown even faster. Okay, Erop, is that how you say it? I think I know where you're going. The translation's a little rough. If things start going, I mean, I don't think things are going to go really stupid because the loudest mouths are the first ones to run in a fight. If it ever came down to a real fight, no, it's not going to even be a contest because us liberal rednecks, we have guns too. Are you still doing the Find Out podcast? No, I'm not, Jane. We had a parting of ways, and I'm sorry, but that's about all I can say about that. Resist, but be organized. Yes, we can. You know, one of the things about being organized is I think we need to expand our definition of what it means to be organized. Because when you think about being organized, you think, okay, somebody's in charge and somebody has a roster and somebody's going to assign duties and somebody's going to carry out those duties. And that's what it means to be organized, right? There's a hierarchy to who's making decisions and giving direction and things like that. But another way to be organized is to stick with your community and make sure that your community is strong. Whether it's the local gardening club, if that's what you're into, make sure that you're going to your gardening club and that you're trying to grow it. If it's your shooting club or your bowling club, whatever it is, your community organizations, your soup kitchens, your YMCA, Boys and Girls Clubs, all of these things, all of these community-driven events that count on community participation, get involved in those. Because if things were to get really stupid, if they started to actually try and start censoring our communications and start coming after people like me who are speaking out to a lot of people at once, if it actually got that bad, like Hitler's Germany, then the thing that'll stop them that they won't be able to overcome is all of these separate little community organizations. Because when it gets to that, you can say, I'm going to my gardening club. I'm not going to a meeting to oppose the government. I'm going to talk about petunias. And then when you get to your gardening club, you talk about how to overthrow the government. We need to force our democratic leaders to lead. Absolutely. And I think that's a great opportunity to say one of the ways we force our democratic leaders to lead, do not give money to the national party. Don't give money to the state party. Don't give money to the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee or the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committees. The only congressional group that I would give money to is the Progressive Caucus. Bernie, AOC, Max Frost, people like that, because they are actually taking that money and they're supporting real progressive Democrats and they're using it to help take Bernie and AOC and Jasmine and others across the country to have huge rallies in red areas and talk to people and get them on our side. Whereas if you send your $25 donation to the DNC because you want your candidate in your red area to have a chance to win, well, guess what? Your $25 gets to the DNC or to the DSCCC or whatever, gets to the large party organizations, And they say, okay, how nice. We got $25 from Barbara. And I think we'll put $5 out of that 25 into actual administrative work here. And then I think we'll put another $5 into sending out more letters and emails asking for donations. And I'm making up these numbers. It could be 10, 15, or some variation of percentages. And then so that's $10 so far. So we have $15 left. They're going to take that and they say, well, let's see, Barbara's in Missouri. Well, there's no way that we're going to win that race. So let's send that remaining $15 to these three candidates in blue races that are going to win. That's what they'll do with your money if you send it to the party organizations. Now, you notice I didn't say don't send to your local party. That is still a good donation, because if you send money to your local Democratic Party, they're going to use that money on things like voter registration. They're going to use it to buy educational materials. They're going to use it to organize phone banking. And they're going to use it to support every Democrat on the ballot in their county. So a donation to a local party is a good investment of money. But sending it to a state or national party is going to be exactly what I just told you. When I ran for Congress, Corey, see what happens when you get old, you can't remember names. Corey, whatever his name was my congressman, and he became our senator because in the middle of the race, he switched. Ken Buck was going to run for the Senate, and Corey was going to run for re-election in the House. But Corey, as my congressman, he wasn't doing squat. It was the, I'm going to have to do something violent to that kitten because my wife just shampooed these rugs. Oh, I'm in so much trouble now. I'm going to have to clean that up. Anyway, where was I? So Corey Gardner, that was his name. He wasn't doing anything. And I called up the state party and I said, hey, who's running against Corey Gardner? And they said, nobody. I said, well, that's not right. I'm going to run against Corey Gardner. And Rick Palacio was our state chair at the time. He literally told me on the phone, he said, we are not going to help you. Flat out, they weren't going to help me. And then as the campaign was going on and the candidate switched, I was running against Buck. And I'm doing door-to-door in Denver. Well, out Longmont, actually. See, I think of everything north of here as Denver. But I'm doing door-to-door in Longmont. And as it turns out, the coordinated campaign was about a half an hour ahead of me in the neighborhood I was walking. And I knock on this door, and I'm talking to this voter, telling her who I was and what I was running for. And she said, wait a minute. That guy that was just here for Senator Udall said that Ken Buck was running unopposed. That was the coordinated campaign that I had used my campaign funds to buy into because they said they were going to help me. So, have I driven it home yet of why your money being donated to the state national parties is not a good investment? When you can, I'd appreciate a summary of the big ugly bill and what it has done to Americans. James, I have been thinking a lot about that today, about how I really should download it and go through it and summarize all of the stuff that it does, good, bad, and ugly. I gotta throw it. Sorry, I'm trying to scare the kitten out of this room because I'm pretty sure they're over there messing on the carpet. And that's not good. Oh man, I'm in trouble. Sorry, back to focus. So yes, James, I am going to do that in the next few days. My thoughts on Zoran Mamdani is I think he's a great harbinger of things to come as long as the people at the grassroots continue to be his champion as much as he is theirs and do not let the Wall Street Democrats running our party and the APAC Democrats tear him down because they're trying already. They're trying to make him insignificant. Went to school on the history of Sons of Liberty, deep history. Ouch. What time is it? 8:16. I think I'm about to run out of time on my live. I don't know how that works on YouTube. I only tried one live on TikTok and I got booted out early because the maggots came in and started saying bad stuff and causing reports and all that. My phone keeps trying to die on me. Brett, I'm going to take your advice. I mean, I'm subscribed to 1 million people on Substack now, but I am going to read Judge Ludwig and see what he has to say. Well, folks, tomorrow? Yes, tomorrow night I am going to sit down with Zee and we are going to talk about our Unfuck America tour stop in Tampa. We're going to talk about the whole tour in general, why we're doing it, and how to contribute, how to volunteer. If you're online and you want to help the tour just by reposting our content, you can be in our Discord group and we'll alert you when there's content being posted and things like that. And then the week after that, I've got to pull up her name again because I don't want to get it wrong. Where's my text messages? Carmen. So if you've never heard of Carmen Broodster, is how you say her last name. Carmen lived in Idaho, and she is a survivor of the Idaho anti-abortion laws. She had a miscarriage. And just like so many of the other stories, they wouldn't treat her. They wouldn't give her the medical care that she needed. And she came very, very close to dying. She documented it all while she was in the hospital, wondering if she was going to live and talking about her other child, her little girl, and what was going to happen to her. And it was very powerful stuff. Well, she survived, and then when she healed up and got physically capable, she got the hell out of Idaho. And she took her experience rather than just leave Idaho and start and try and build her own life by herself and her little girl. She decided to turn that tragedy into energy and work. So she started something called Unity Harbor. It's actually, there's a bigger umbrella organization, but she's now just about an hour and a half from here. And she got a plot of land and she's got it set up so that women who are fleeing red states with crazy abortion bans or kids who are LGBTQ and in abusive, unaccepting homes need a place to go. Any homeless person. That's an example. I'm going to let her tell you more about it, but she started this camp here in Colorado. And the way it works is you can go there and camp there and live there. And they help with childcare and all kinds of stuff. And it's little to no cost depending on circumstances. And she does this so that people have a safe place to go. And it's expanded into other states now. And it's an amazing piece of work to come out of her tragedy from what happened to her in Idaho. So she's going to be my guest after Zee It's not this coming Tuesday that it'll air, but the Tuesday after. She'll be on to tell us more about that and how you can donate to it and things like that. And again, if you want to look it up to see what I'm talking about, she's Carmen B. Not in Idaho is her TikTok page, and her website is Unity Harbor. Harbor is spelled Harbor, not BOR. Okay, guys, I think I do have to go now. It's 20 after 8. I was only supposed to be on for an hour, and I get the out of Idaho too. Yeah, so many reasons to not be in Idaho. All right, guys, thank you so much for coming into the comments and joining me. And um, I really appreciate you, those of you who are always reaching out and talking to me in the comments of my videos, telling me the things that you do. You're the ones that keep me doing this, frankly. I mean, I'm making a few bucks doing this now from the creator fund or whatever it's called, but that's not why I do it. I do it because if I have something that's worth other people hearing, I want to let them hear it. And as long as people find value in what I'm saying, I will keep saying the things that I say. So anyway, I gotta call it a night. Thanks again, and we'll see you on down the road. Good day. Did I end it?